2008, the summer of 2008 in Aspen. One of the outcomes of our focus conference was the idea of an online Peace Corps that Phil Noble from Politics Online came up with. And this is one of those ideas where it wasn't talk leading to talk, it was talk leading to action. So here, 16 months later, I'm really pleased to introduce a man of incredible energy, a man who started in politics when he was 9 years old, ran for second grade president maybe, I don't know. But he's consulted in politics, he's consulted foreign countries. He started, as we know, Politics Online, always ahead of the game. 1996 he started Politics Online, and now he's here to announce the launch of Hope Plus. So I'm pleased to welcome Phil Noble.
Thank you, Charlie. No. First, I want to thank all y'all for coming, because everybody around this room has had a piece in this. And to go back to, for all you old guys, there are a lot of unindicted co-conspirators in this room. I remember that line, Sam? Sam remembers that line. And what Hope Plus is a group of people, a lot of people, who've contributed time, money, energy, effort to a big idea. And the big idea is finally on the screen. And I was talking to a reporter yesterday, and he said, "Where is this thing in a year?" And I said, "I don't know if it's 10 million people or 10. And it is a big idea about using the internet to engage people to try to deal with the issues of the developing world. And it is really something, I think, that is exciting, because you don't know what it's going to do. We don't know how big it's going to be. We don't know how little. We may fail. We may succeed wildly. The most interesting part about it is the quality and the smarts of the people who have gotten involved. That's what's going to make this work or not work. And there are a number of them around the room, and I'll talk to you about it. It really, in one sense, the Hope Plus is kind of a combination of the inspirational words of Obama and sort of the ideas of Gates. Again, Gates put up some money, so we have full disclosure here. Microsoft was our first financial partner. But it really is the sense of possibilities, the sense of inspiration, the sense of trying to do more than just simply accept things as. And the big idea is leveraging this initial global response and attraction to Obama through social networking, new technology, trying to develop those problems. We view it very much as leveraging. Hope Plus is independent, will always be independent, and we view Obama as sort of a launch mechanism, but not the project. Just as the Peace Corps long outlived John Kennedy, so too we hope Hope Plus will live far beyond this presidency. We have struggled from day one to define what Hope Plus is in 5 words, and we still hadn't done it. So anybody got any 5-word definition, we'd appreciate it. The World's Online Peace Corps is sort of one phrase, and the other is sort of the eBay of global helping. Those are all great lines, and I think they're very descriptive. Problem is they're copyrighted, and you can't use them in public very much. So we appreciate it. Anybody's got 4 or 5 words of describing what it is we're doing. We focus very much on this idea of action. It's a place of global action. And what we're doing is aggregating existing NGOs. Harvey Sloan walked in the room. Hey, Harvey, I hadn't seen you in a million years. Come have a seat. We're aggregating global action of NGOs and expanding it with social media technology, bringing in the whole sort of user-generated content idea of what do you want to do, what kind of projects do you want to develop, And then we're using a variety of ways to sort of highlight a specific project. Here is something we want to do this project. We want to provide. It says 50 million. It was supposed to be 50. 50 bed nets in the next hour for this village in Uganda. It's very much focused on tangible, user-generated projects in a defined period of time. And then very much sort of a clearinghouse where we want to add in lots of components where people can donate not just time, but also goods and services. And there's some interesting guys at the Pentagon who we're talking with about how to set up the logistics of global delivery. The idea of hope plus action equal change is not just sort of a slogan of what we believe. It's also the sort of the organizing principle of the site, if you will, in that we want people to come, sign up with a sense of hope and optimism. What do you care about? What do you want to do? What issues, what parts of the world are you concerned about? And then second is take action. Do something. Join an existing project, start a project, and then work to make it happen. Bring others along. Help build a community of support to actually make that happen. The first phase of sort of the announcement is really sort of a soft announcement, if you will. And our goals are, as you see there, focus is just to build some engagement, to create the message, to start creating a global community around this. Have users begin to represent beyond just the U.S. And finalize our initial partnerships, which we've done. There are a number of activities that are taking place over at Copenhagen as sort of part of our launch over there. We initially had great plans when Obama was going to be there for 3 days, and then when it came down to 23 hours, we lost our possibility. We were talking about doing a global town hall meeting kind of deal. Cisco was kicking in some technology. But anyway, such is the ways of White House scheduling. But we've got some folks over there doing some interesting things. Again, just sort of raising awareness. This is a huge globe that is in the very center of Copenhagen, and it has been constructed for the event. And they've got all these little, you can't really see it, but they've got all kind of messages around it. Well, theoretically, the Hope Plus is showing up occasionally. We've got little short 10-second videos that are playing on this globe somewhere. I hadn't seen it, but I'm told it's beautiful. Also, there's a big exhibit called Bright Green, which is the non-political part of the conference. Microsoft has got some of our stuff on a big screen over there and distributing some material. So there is sort of a presence over there. I got back an email yesterday from the UNDP, very excited about what we were doing based on their participation over there. Post-launch, we really, and we're talking into the second half of next year, we want to move into more activism and transactional stuff. Again, challenges and opportunities is our message. The impact is with global media events and media partners, more activities online, and the high-profile promotion, if you will, linking celebrities and their cause, bringing it to Hope Plus. What is it that they care about, bringing it to Hope Plus and exposing it to our people, and essentially bringing the Ashton Kutcher fan base onto Hope Plus, if you will. And we've got some interesting discussions out in Hollywood about doing that. These are our initial partners, Aspen, Microsoft, and Monster. A couple of folks from Monster here, Janet Swaisland. She has been terrific from the very beginning. And Melissa. Where's Melissa? Yeah, pronounce your last name?
Wojak.
From Monster as well. She does government relations here in town. They have been terrific. Monster's got, 87 million people in your, how many?
Resumes.
Yeah, they've got sort of 87 million people in their community. And part of what we'll be doing with Monster is giving them an opportunity to participate and do things to build their resume, to expand their sort of work life, their life just beyond their work. Again, Leadership for a Network World, the Kennedy School, and those across the bottom are contributing mostly technology, but a little money. But they are the ones who have really made this happen. Operational, Mike Zolant's back there from Sunshine, who has kept us on the right side of the law, and we appreciate that enormously. Neighborhood America, Tim Perez, where's Tim? They're providing the platform of this. City Beach has done a lot of the video work. And Landor is an interesting company. They're a branding company. But they're working with our partners to say, how can we help you get the most out of your partnership with Hope Plus? How can we align our activities with your brand? And I think that's a really interesting dimension in that we're not saying just give us a check. We're looking to build partnerships, and we've got somebody who's really the pro at doing that. Our initial distribution, MSN, AOL, MSNBC, we'll begin that in January. With some sustained promotion, particularly in the first quarter, is when we will really begin to build some visibility. And Buddy Media is running the whole social media marketing and advertising promotion side of this. They're building us an iPhone app and on and on. We really think if you had to define our demographic, at least initially, you'd say it's Facebook. Facebook's got 350 million people. 70% of them are outside of the United States. They are social networking people. That's what they live, they breathe. And so in many ways, that's our initial target demographic, is Facebook people. And when you see the application, it is recognizable to the Facebook people as, yeah, got it, understand it from the very beginning, the whole sort of structure of the social networking. And we need to expand beyond that to other demographics and different styles and different presentation formats. But at core, you know, we got a lot of opportunity with 350 million people who are already on Facebook globally. Here's our advisory board. Several of them in the room. Sam Brown, a number of other folks who have been involved from the very beginning. The last one down there, Jimmy Wales, is our newest member, and I think, and I think Jimmy and Microsoft are an interesting polar opposites, which make me feel incredibly optimistic. Here you have Microsoft, who has a very definite sort of technological theology about how the world should work, i.e. we ought to control it all. I shouldn't say that. I apologize, Microsoft. But you know, very closed system is their roots. That's where they came from. Now, obviously they're expanding greatly from there, but that was their roots. And then on the other hand, you got Jimmy Wales with the founder of Wikipedia, the whole open source, everything is user generated. And both of these two extremes are saying there's an idea here. There's a big concept here. There's something that's going to work. And to bring those two extremes together behind an idea gives me a lot of long-term confidence that we will figure out how to make this work, and we've got the brain power and the resources to do it. Lots of friends who've been helping us. Doug Bailey, who is the godfather of all things political and digital in this country, and actually brought me and Harvey together. The three of us met in 1983, and we're all getting to be old farts. And we've got a number of other people. We began it with sort of a political bent, simply because that's where a lot of the background came from. We've begun to move already. Erica Mann was a member of the European Parliament for 20 years and was founder of the European Internet Foundation. And Derek Wyatt I was a member of Parliament in the UK and founded the Oxford Internet Institute. And we're already beginning to move this into what is beyond the U.S. We will have, hopefully, sort of start pages for every country in the world eventually. So we're working from the very beginning to take it outside of the United States. Oh, and Greg Snyder's. Thank you, Greg. To take it beyond the U.S. very quickly. So with that, let me just give you a quick preview of the site.
Will take all of us. It will take all of you to feed a child or to heal the sick, to be good stewards of this earth. It requires us to move past our differences, to address our common problems, to endure and continue humanity's strivings for a better world. People will rise to the challenge if given the opportunity. If called upon to join a cause larger than themselves. We need your service right now, in this moment, in history. I'm not going to tell you what your role should be, but I am going to ask you play your part, ask you to stand up, ask you to put your foot firmly in the current of history. I'm asking you to change history's course.
As you see, we don't lack for aspiration, but we're serious about it. I mean, we really don't know where this is going. We don't know how big it's going to get, and we don't know what it can do. But we don't believe in limiting ourselves. This is the. I'll sit down and sort of talk through it. This is the site that as soon as they come to the video is the first thing they see, and then they come to the site. And it's a broad sort of welcome and informational stuff here. And then down through it, you see a variety of other components. And on the right hand, this box is sort of who we are, the immediate message, what we want you to do, and a little join now button. Then this is sort of here's what's the most recent things that are happening, the hot tags. Featured global needs. We've divided all the projects and allocated them into 6 global needs. And then you move into discussion posts and recent projects and then recent members. This is the little icon. If they don't put up one of their pictures, this is the default. And then the middle column is the special stuff, what we call the featured projects. Here's a specific project. This is about Copenhagen, asking people to sign a climate change petition and become involved with the larger follow-up movement, if you will, to Copenhagen. And then, we have, a featured member set, featured blogs, featured blog posts. And then this is an interesting section, which is the most promising project, and I'll come to that. But this is where users not only put in projects, but rate them and vote them. And the ones that become, that are supported move up the food chain, if you will, and end up on the front page here. And this section is obviously just the login, where people become members. It's a very simple process. I won't. But we ask them to give us their email. Look at that, I didn't do it right. Let's see. All right, there we go. And throughout, we're using survey functions throughout because we really want people. I won't click through the whole thing, but it's about what do you do online, what motivates you, what moves you, what have you been doing, where can you tell us what makes sense. And there's lots of sort of open-ended stuff here because we think we think it's not about X and Y, it's about making your choices. As you move across the bar, it begins with sort of who about us, and I won't click through all that, but the My Hope Plus. It's really, as you see, very extensive in terms of being able to customize it for the individual. What are your projects, your profile? What are the global needs that you care about? With the idea that as much as possible, we want this to be very much centered around the users. As I said, all of the projects for now are organized into these sort of 6 global needs: hunger and poverty, universal education, girls and women, health, sustainable development, and water. And within these, each of these, you have projects, you have blog posts, you have members who are interested in each one of these. The project section is really the heart and soul, if you will, of Hope Plus. And what we're saying to people is do 2 things. There's a section here about how to create a project and various uploading mechanisms for videos and pictures and so on and so forth. But what we're saying to people is go out and find what's happening on the web that you like dealing with these issues. Bring them and build support for it. If you don't see something you like, create your own project. Bring together individuals who care about the same things and work together to create whatever it is you want to do. And I'll show you just 2 or 3 examples of this. I mean, this is an interesting little organization that essentially recruits graphic designers to volunteer online around environmental issues. I mean, that's a very different sort of way to say, I want to volunteer and I care about the environment and I'm a graphic designer and I'll help somebody in Indonesia. It's a different sort of way to think about volunteering. This is another interesting one called GlobeMed. And what GlobeMed does is says, you as a group of university students, we want you to adopt a healthcare community in Rwanda. You support it. You create your direct relationship with them, not through some intermediary, but we want you to support these guys in Rwanda, whatever it takes, if they're looking for help or money or expertise. You adopt them. You become their family, if you will. And that's very much sort of what the broader concept of what we're trying to do is to use the technology to bring people together in sort of different ways. Here's this one's around a Cambodian AIDS project. And what they're asking is, they're not asking for money. They're asking, this is sponsored by CARE, but it's a political advocacy thing because one of their real problems with AIDS in Burma is the political culture is so hostile to the AIDS workers kind of things. So we hope to eventually have thousands and thousands of these kinds of projects. People can construct them on their own. We've got all sorts of little devices built in here where if you think it's inappropriate, it gets flagged. Tell us why it's inappropriate, and we've got a whole sort of vetting process on that. We've got sort of rules for the roads, et cetera. And again, I won't belabor the whole thing, but there's blogs associated with each project, with each global need. There's a whole variety of discussion forums that, again, around the various needs. Events calendar where people can come in and as they schedule events both online and offline, and they are fed back through their network. All this stuff, you can share it obviously with every kind of organization that you can imagine around the world that's doing this thing. We work very hard to get a whole variety of global organizations. This is one of my favorites, and it's either going to be great or it's going to bomb. I got no idea which. The Neighborhood America folks over here. This is This is a live video chat tool. And basically, you can come to this thing. Sorry. That was a video how to, let me pull it back up.
We'll take all of us. We'll take all of you.
The video chat, let me turn off the speaker so it doesn't blare us out here. But so many laptops now have the built-in camera and along with their regular microphones and everything else. So this could really be terrific. It starts out with just here's a little video about how to use this tool, and then people can, once they see how to use it, this is like a typical sort of video chat session. It's the way it's developed. It's very low bandwidth, intensive, so it can be used really quite effectively in the developing world. We hope to create a community where they actually see each other, where they're actually participating, where they're actually talking in real time about some of these problems. So, and then the traditional members section here, where people put in who they are and their profile, and the whole sort of very much Facebook kind of approach. This is Celia from the Social Democratic Party of Sweden, of all places. Isn't that interesting? And we've got, We've got 110 people signed up to become members so far. So that's Hope Plus. We're excited about it. We thank you all for being a part of it, and I would love to tell you now is when we really need your help. Now is when we're going to be calling on you folks. Now is when we're going to be asking people how to solve this problem. What should we do now? The baby is born, but not to steal a metaphor. It's going to take a real big village to raise this child, and so we need a lot of people's help. And so that's where it is. I'd happy to answer any questions, thoughts, comments. Are we crazy?
Can you have projects in the United States, or is it only the developing world?
Well, actually, our focus has always been the developing world. I noticed this morning somebody did put in a food bank project in South Carolina, which is, one could argue that we may qualify as a developing country. We've had sort of a banana republic governor for a while, so maybe it works. Anyway, we shouldn't go there, as they say. No, we want to focus on the developing world, and we're gonna. There has been some discussion about basically just doing a cut and paste U.S. version of this whole thing, exactly as it is. I don't know if we're going to do that, but no, the focus is the developing world. What did we do wrong, Jamie?
Looking good.
Jamie and David are from 3 Spot. They helped us in this very early process of saying, here's this big idea. How do we begin to put it on the screen?
Phil?
Yeah.
Have you had any discussions with the Carter Center?
No, but we want to. We want to.
I have a couple of questions. Mark, following Points of Light.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate you coming. Michelle Nunn was
She's
involved.
so she said
Yep. Michelle was involved early on with helping us figure
We
this.
see ourselves as a supporter and very in favor of the idea and want to be part of it. 2 questions, though, come to my mind. First is that our experience as Points of Light, looking back on Peace Corps kind of idea, I know this is a little different from that, but it's certainly built on some of those ideas, is that it was driven by an enormously inspirational moment when Kennedy challenged people. Although you have Obama there, I think our sense is he's quite distracted. Michelle came to our conference last year, but I don't see him about to step up and do a Kennedy. And I wonder whether being online and all that is enough to compensate for a moment of challenge. And my second one is this. About 5 days ago, I was trudging through the jungles and paddy fields of the island of Mindanao in the Philippines, and with a project, and there is nothing out there. And I don't know if you're intending this to go beyond online, but infrastructure would be my second question, because if you ever want to do anything actually real out there, you have to have people being able to get away from helicopters when they get bitten by the snakes in the paddy field. You know, you've got insurance, all that stuff is huge, and it's absolutely necessary, and even Peace Corps has trouble keeping up with that stuff, let alone
Right.
for any others. So do you have a plan for all the costs involved with larger infrastructure about getting out there? Two
Okay.
questions.
Let me deal with both of the, first Obama, then the large infrastructure. Actually, the Obama folks, we literally, just happenstance, I literally flew from the Aspen conference where this thing began to Chicago. I was sort of a volunteer with the Obama folks and sort of talked about this idea. And they, from the very beginning, they have understood what we're doing. They've been encouraging of what we're doing. The president's been briefed on it twice. And they are, as one of the folks in the State Department says, we want you, it is in our interest for you to succeed. Now, having said that, Hope Plus is and always will be totally independent. And we expect to have lots of other political people involved, and we will. But if you're trying to find somebody who resonates in the world at large with the message of get involved and do something in a sort of a global call to service, there ain't anybody better. So who else are you going to start with? So, but again, it's very much our view that the Obama is the leverage that launches the thing, but we sustain far beyond it. The second issue about all the infrastructure, all the issues, what we don't want to, and we're not going to run projects. What we want to do is allow people to create a project, to talk about what they're doing, to reach out to other people in their network. And then in time, we want to bring on more and more and more resources that people will be able to access through the site. Personal time volunteer, volunteering goods and services in sort of an exchange bank. But it is not we are not going to initiate projects so much as, for example, I keep talking about bed nets because Malaria No More is such a good organization and it's so clear. I mean, they've picked out a village somewhere in Kenya, and they said we need, I think it's going to be about 3,000 bed nets. And what we've said is, okay, give us that project. We'll try to get our people to do it in X number of days. They'll shoot people putting up their bed nets and say, thank you, John, for helping provide this bed net. This is the one you bought. And using the technology to make that connection is really what we're looking at. Qualcomm, we're really excited about them because Qualcomm is doing some very interesting things with mobile and development issues in about 24 places around the world. They've got little micro projects that they've done that they now want to scale. And they view Hope Plus as a way to help them scale that. Very much mobile is where we know we got to go, but we got to start here. Yeah.
Phil, let me just bounce something off on you. I've been working in Russia for the last 6 years on HIV/AIDS, mainly in the Russian Far East, Siberia, and the Ural Mountains. And that's a fairly good raging epidemic. They're getting drugs out there, but that's about it. If you look at the situation globally, there's been some discussion about the PEPFAR expansion.
Right.
The Obama administration has cut it off a little bit with other illnesses, and I don't disagree with that. But we're not going to treat our way out of this disease. For every 2 people that go on antiretrovirals, 5 people are infected. Right here in Washington, D.C., supposedly we have all of resources we would need, we got the highest rate of infection in this country, 3%, higher than some of the West African nations. My question is, how can we use Hope Plus to hone in on really significant behavioral change? And complacency is the big villain. Here people see Magic Johnson, hey, he looks all right. He's got HIV, I'll take a pill.
Right.
And education. And I know some of your folks on there are trying to do it, but I'd like to try to do it in Russia, in the community that is ready for it.
Good. We can talk about that afterwards. But that's exactly the kind of thing we want to try to do, is find people who say, here's a place on the ground, a defined problem, a defined community, and here is what we think is the defined action, solution that we want to do in this place, in this town. And put it up, highlight it, and say to our folks, come help do this.
Yeah, but it's got to be down to the personal level.
Exactly.
Either Twitter, or you text in questions anonymously. Young people get these answers, and they will respond to them. It's just not a bunch of stuff on TV or placards or written material. It's not doing it. Not with this generation.
That is precisely what we want to try to do, is to connect those people directly, one-to-one. People who got the problem, people want to help the problem. Absolutely. Who else? Anybody else? Y'all have been here almost an hour. Anybody else? I don't want to keep anybody, but Greg.
What is the plan to drive traffic to the site?
Yep. Well, beginning we're sort of letting it run through the end of the year with just sort of sending out emails and beginning to do that. There are two tracks that will kick in the first quarter. The first is literally online advertising. We've got banners and all that sort of stuff through AOL, MSN, and MSNBC. And then that's sort of first. The second is the whole viral marketing of this through Facebook and the iPhone apps and so on, through the whole buddy media, social networks, social media marketing is the second. Excuse me. And then the third is beginning to work through our partners and their networks. I was talking about Monster. Monster's got 87 million people in how many countries?
No, that's historic resume base.
Right.
Monthly unique traffic in North America is 15 million every month, uniques.
Right. So, that's a hell of a network. IBM, Microsoft, its employees, it's those larger networks. And again, it's, we've got great faith in Neighborhood America has built this so we can send a bazillion people. We just don't want to do it today. But that's the strategy. And eventually, if we talk about sort of long-term goals, this is the long-term strategy of this thing. A lot of these ideas were developed when we were working with the BBC. And the big idea here is eventually to be able to go to a media company, and BBC says, okay, we're going to produce a story on television, radio, online about, pick a subject, this kid in Africa, global warming. And the editor sits down at his console and he says, okay, here's the story, here's the text, here's the video, here's the graphics, and then here's Hope Plus about global warming in Africa. And that icon becomes a part of the package, so that when you go to BBC, when you go to CNN, when you go to any news organization, there's information about about what's happening in the world and a way for you to click to do something about it. That's the big idea. That's how you get 100 million users a day, which was the original sort of plan, to integrate something where people can respond to the news and do something immediately. That's where it gets to be a pretty big idea. And if you provide it for free to every media organization in the world, and you get Jimmy Wales's translation guides, where they're cooking this through in however many different languages Jimmy Wales done, that's when you get all giddy. Sir.
What is your staffing and what is the projection of your staffing? What is your funding and what is the projection of your funding and its needs?
Yeah. We've got about 4 or 5 people right now at this level. We don't view this today. We don't view it as ever getting more than about 30, 40 at most. Not very big. We've got a couple of people who we're looking at to essentially run this on a day-to-day basis, who come in who've run large technology projects like this. The funding we've essentially raised and spent about $500,000 to date. We have, where's our friends at Sun and Shine? We have a major plan to go forward with some foundations in the first quarter. We've got perhaps 2 or 3 major corporates that are going to come in, we hope, in the first quarter of next year. We view, again, this is very much back of the envelope. We think $5 to $7 million is what we'll take to get it to sustainability. There's a whole variety of things we want to do. For example, you cannot make a donation to a charitable organization directly through us. You have to go to that site. It's validated because you have to be a registered IRS charity. Well, we're negotiating with a company, an online transaction company that can take every currency in the world. And that would be really interesting if all of a sudden in any native culture, anybody had a credit card anywhere in the world could support a project processed through their own culture. Well, they would be very happy to have us do that for them and to pay us for the privilege. And there are a number of people like that. That's sort of our revenue model, is finding people who want to demonstrate and do things and will pay for the privilege of exposing it to X bazillion people. So we can pay guys like Three Spot over here who we still owe a ton of money. Thank you for your patience. It'll get there. Sam.
I just wanted to make an observation. What I was looking at on my phone, I just got a petition this morning to send something for the global climate change. And since I left the house this morning, there have been 1,300,000 signatures added to that petition. It's sort of virally going around the world. And in one day, it's now 14 million signatures to the people in Copenhagen. It is stunning what happens when the viral world starts. Finding a solution is easier than figuring out a project or sending money.
Sure.
I mean, it's a sort of passive thing to do. But it's still a remarkable thing, and I think if you can capture any portion of that kind of connection and energy, it could make an enormous difference in the support of projects really on the ground, which is what it's all about.
You're exactly right. I mean, it is stunning what can happen with this stuff. Let me give you one. Again, I don't. Y'all been here long enough, and you've heard me babbling on long enough. But let me give you one step of where I think this is going. There are today untold hundreds of thousands of people in the world working for nonprofit groups, Oxfam or whatever, all over the world, trying to do things. And some, I'm not picking on Oxfam, but because this is very typical. What they do is say, we got this kid down here in Zimbabwe who's trying to build this school. Will you send us $100? We'll then send you an email newsletter telling you how good we're doing, and we want you to send us another $100. And then we'll take a little of it for administration, and eventually we'll allocate some money down here to this kid building the school in Zimbabwe, right? What we want to do is through Hope Plus, where the kid in Zimbabwe says, hi, this is my project, this is what I'm doing, here's my school, here's my students, will you connect and help me provide those people with what they need? And what you have then done is you have, in essence, radically changed the role of the nonprofits, because you have disintermediated them in a sense, because you've connected people directly to the project on the ground. Because if you as Oxfam, if 10,000 people went to Oxfam today and said, hi, I want to volunteer, how can I help? Oxfam goes, give us $50 and we'll get back to you. Because they don't have a way, there's not a way to connect them to the project on the ground. And that's what we really want to do. That's the radical disruptive potential of what we're talking about, is connecting people all over the world directly with projects on the ground, using NGOs as sort of filters of validators that it's not kiddie porn and Al-Qaeda. Yep.
Just one last thing. I think the other call to action would be, for the people in the room or the people that are exposed to this at the early side of it, to go in and join. The reason I say that is because in most social sites, there's people that first observe. They do a lot of observing before they stick their toe in the water. It's important for the community of interest at the starting point to kind of get started and either establish either posts or commentary, so that people that are lurking, people that are just kind of watching behind the scenes, will feel engaged to start moving forward. Because people are shy in the social setting, especially one like this, where they're going to be very visible and some of their attributes are going to be visible. So it's going to take a little bit of a kind of a come on in, the water's warm type of effort. And as you get new projects, or at least successful projects started, highlighting those, featuring those are going to be critical. So I think it's important for all of us in the room to initially take that first foray, and if nothing else, just join us out.
Yeah, please do. I mean, again, we literally, as I said, I mean, I think it was, there are 110 members. There are 110. Yeah, you can be in number 111. Somebody sent me something yesterday. Said I was number 7 on your Facebook on the Facebook page of Hope Plus. So hey, this is the beginning of the beginning of the beginning, guys. Y'all are seeing it. In some ways, there are some arguments to be made that we shouldn't have sort of begun it publicly so early. I mean, I understand that, but we'll make our mistakes in public.
You have to begin, and you've begun.
We've begun.
Let me ask you. Can I ask one question?
You can ask. Yeah, sure.
You said you have to filter, which obviously you do, because your description was wonderful, and but it caused people to worry. Kiddie porn and Al-Qaeda. What's your filtering process?
Yep.
Go into a little more.
Okay, absolutely. The folks at Monster helped us sort of think through some of the security part. They are, and Neighborhood America is doing, as they literally as we speak, workarounds. Here's the initial filtering process is the instant that somebody puts up a project, we get an email, it's reviewed. Now, that's a short-term thing because we want to be within probably a week, we'll review it before it goes up. Now there's a couple of a few minutes, but given the traffic, that's not a problem. So so every site will be reviewed before every project will be reviewed before it goes up. Number one. Number two, if they have a link, to any kind of nonprofit organization, anything about fundraising, it will be verified initially manually, but through Janet's company's friends, we're setting up an automated where they will check any link that will get vetted against the RS database of nonprofit organizations that can take contributions. And then there's a whole sort of global watch list of nasty organizations that will also get laid over that. So there's a vetting process. LexisNexis has this whole system to do that, and we're installing that. So that's sort of the administrative side, if you will. And then on the site, you saw every piece of content, people can object to it in some way. And we've got what we call the house rules, which we basically stole from the BBC, about how to moderate a lot of content, and there will be, and again, the Wikipedia people have a whole adjudication process that we will go through. Ultimately, at the end of the day, somewhere in our terms of uses, it says that that it's the ultimate responsibility of Hope Plus, and all content can be removed for any or no reason, which is a wonderful phrase. So ultimately, we'll decide. We're obviously going to be very wide in our latitudes about what we allow, but at the end of the day, we'll decide. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. I mean, it does seem to me the more successful you are, the more. I mean, your description of some student in Kenya wanting to say, "Here's my project. Here's what I want to do in my neighborhood, and here's how you can help." You're going to get the more successful you are, the more.
Huge. Right, absolutely. The choke point, I think, is money. If you're going to get money, if you're asking for money, that's the vetting choke point. If you can control that, and through our friends at Monster and LexisNexis and this whole, we're not inventing the wheel here. We're modifying it, but that's the choke point. And then the other side is the sort of rules of the road. What kind of content do you put up if it's political, et cetera, et cetera. And we and again, I don't want to belabor it, but we did a lot of work with the BBC and worked with them to develop their system of how you manage that, and we're basically stealing that system, which is proving quite effective.
One final question. Do you folks from South Carolina believe that Argentina is a developing country?
Parts of it are quite well developed, yes. But anyway, I'm happy to stick around. I've kept you guys longer than y'all should stay. Thank you. Y'all are all present at the creation of something that maybe something that will change the world. So thank you for coming in and being a part of it. Thank you.